Okay, we're back. Our opponent has kept his or her hand. Has Slotin, could be really whatever. HS Leighton maybe. This hand's fine. We don't have... Oh, we do have double green. So we've got a lot of options. We'll be able to play 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop though, which is fine. Okay, we're gonna be able to play 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. This is the ideal curve. This is maybe not the 1-drop that I would like most, but it's nice to get it out there so that we have the option later. Our opponent will play around it, but our opponent will have to try to play around it. I'm okay with leaving this Executioner's Capsule out and not doing anything with it just to make our opponent play around it. That's perfectly fine with me. When you're recording, you realize that you're saying some phrases too often, and everything is just fine with me today, I guess. Okay, what 3-drop do you have? Okay, so you might be fairies, you might be goblins, you might be just mono black something. Alright. In 3 turns, you're going to come on out, buddy. Okay, that Fairy Macabre is actually a pain just because it's difficult to block. Executioner's Capsule does not answer it, but all of our other removal does. I don't think I'll trade the Germinator for the Goblin, though. So I think he's going to attack for 3. May leave the Goblin back just so I can't attack. The Executioner's Capsule is really not good if our opponent is mono black. Alright, I'm willing to let the Goblin through in order to get 2 damage through on my own, so we'll give that a shot. Alright, so the Apocryphite tries to hold off our attacks. That's pretty... okay. Yeah, I think the Spore Sower is probably better here than the Moss Dog. I'm going to go ahead and attack into the Apocryphite. I'm willing to upgrade it in order to start getting this Spore Sower through. I can always capsule it later or something, very likely. The Spore Sower can block the Goblin, which is nice, and can attack through it. So things are okay. The Macabre is a pain, but okay. So he's going to be able to start searching up Rebels. That's also rough. You can get a lot of value out of the Rebel cards, although if it's mono black, then it's probably just the Tappers, maybe? It's the only black Rebel I remember besides Blightspeaker. Okay, so we have a Thallid, or a Saproling available. So we could attack through and use the Saproling to pump if we need. It's actually not too bad. That would eat the Goblin. Yeah, I'm willing to trade a Saproling for a Goblin. Okay, show me your target. I'm assuming he's going to target the Germinator. Yep. So that's good. We got some damage in. Okay. There's a -1/-1 black spell. So that's the card that we're representing having. Our opponent probably won't or can't play around it, because we probably would have just killed Blight Speaker, but it's better to pretend you have something than to not. Alright, so we've got actually decent attacking force ready. Especially with the Dust Wasp. Our opponent will have a 4/4 Apocryphite coming in, so that's certainly worth being wary of. But we can always use the capsule or play Moss Dog. Our opponent is either stuck on 3 lands or has another color that he's not willing to reveal. Okay, so I think we just go for broke. Our opponent could have the -1/-1 to try and take out our 2/2, but that's so okay that it hurts. Okay, so that's 6, 9, 12 damage. That's alright. So we play Imperiosaur or Moss Dog and keep Executioner's Capsule up. I think we'll play Moss Dog just because it reveals less. I guess they both reveal different things, so because showing your opponent we have a lot of dredge guys means that there may be a theme there. I should have played the Imperiosaur just because it could safely block the Apocryphite, but I'm planning on probably just using Capsule to kill it, because it's the only thing we can kill with it right now. We don't really want to sideboard blue, just because, well, it could kill the Apocryphite over and over. Our opponent is more likely to have -1/-1 counters, which kill all of the blue guys we own. Except for the one big guy that bounces, so that's an option. Okay, so our opponent concedes. This draft is looking good so far. Is there anything that we really want? Fairy Macabre could help us block the flyers. That's not meaningless, but it's awfully hard to cast. Thieving Sprite. We didn't see any X1 flyers, although they may be there. And our opponent does have Goblin, so we don't really want that. Alright, so I think that the deck is probably what we want. Oh, except for Executioner's Capsule doesn't look good here. I think Nantuko Shaman might be best. We'll give that a shot. Walker the Grove is also interesting just because it gives a nice big target that my deck doesn't have otherwise. But my deck is nice and fairly low on the curve, so we want to keep it that way. These are maybe 5s. These are 2s. Yeah, it's not the worst. This isn't great. It's awfully slow. Our opponent's deck does have some flyers and some things that get damaged, but Master Myers will help draw us out of it. Maybe I should keep this, but it's borderline, and we've got some good cards and we can cast them on turn 4. Turn 4 is, again, dicey, but certainly don't want to be drawing lands. Worm Harvest would be good with this hand. If we get flooded, there's always that. Also, our opponent hasn't seen enough of our deck to necessarily know how black we are. He saw Executioner's Capsule, but... Oh, okay, that's something else that our opponent can put in with his Blight Speaker. White is our opponent's other color, which is what the information that we were lacking. Alright, Master Myers is good, Moldervine is good. Those two have some level of synergy. They're both really just card advantage, which right now is excellent. Okay, so hopefully our opponent won't have anything too amazing. Probably going to use the 4 mana to just tutor in a creature on our turn. Or maybe the removal spell is an option. So we shall see. But we're going to go ahead and lead with a Massive Mire. If it is removed by the removal spell, that's better than the Imperiosaur. Plus, this lets us draw a card and have extra options. Alright, so we got some lands. Thankfully, we've started drawing some cards that do things, so hopefully we can get them out fast enough to recover. We are a little bit behind, I think, but how far behind depends on what our opponent is tutoring up. That could be worse, although that adds some redundancy to the engine. In addition to just the 1 damage per turn, it makes it so I can't just remove his Blight Speaker. So right now we might have to just play up to 7 lands, or sorry, 6 lands so that we can Death Rattle. Oh, that's why I was 1 off on my mana before, is I thought it was 7 total for some reason. Okay, so probably the enchantment. Yeah, Bound in Silence, that's what it's called. Okay, I'll go ahead and play Imperiosaur this turn, because next turn we'll be able to Germinator and Molder Vine, or Death Rattle if we prefer. So the question is, how many Rebels does our opponent have in his or her deck? The whole Rebel plane is very, very good. We know this. It's just a question of, will we die before our opponent runs out of answers to everything we have? That Flyer is a pain. We can Death Rattle it if we need to. One interesting thing is Changeling lets you be all creature types at all times. However, that does not let you be creature types that do not exist. So, like, Death Rattle kills a non-green creature. You can't be like, oh, it is a green shapeshifter, because it's all types. No, it doesn't exist, so you can't be it. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Imperiosaur. Let's see what our opponent has. Our opponent may just have another Bound in Silence. It is a common. And if our opponent's going for this deck, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yep. And actually, I think I'll wait on the Moldervine Cloak until I'm ready to attack. I was going to say, in case so he can't Bound and Silence me, but I also just want to get the Thallid out just so it'll start ticking up. Thankfully, Bound and Silent cannot create Thallids from making Saprolings. We do need to get answers to his whole board. Yeah, that's a pain. Pepper Smoke is the -1/-1 that I was talking about. If he controlled a fairy, he'd get to draw a card. He does because the Aven changed. So, sadness. Right, there's another Rebel. Yeah, our opponent has answers to a lot of creatures. Do I need to kill the changeling now? You know I might. Yeah, I think I want to do that. I want to get the shaman out, but our opponent has so many answers to creatures that it seems more important to just reduce the amount of damage we're taking. Otherworldly journey. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Okay. It would take a lot for us to save this game right now. I could have attacked with the Thallid Germinator there. I figured our opponent was going to just tutor in another rebel that could safely block, which would have been a pain. But yeah, I think we have to go ahead and scoop this one up. Okay, so there definitely are non-black cards there, so we'll probably want to go ahead and put the capsule back in. Is there anything else? Not actually much in the way of goblins. Shaman is what I put in. I'm gonna have to pause this. I'll be right back. Right now, I think... Okay. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I thought I heard someone at the door, but I was mistaken. Our opponent has actually not submitted a deck yet. That's interesting. Surprising. Yeah, really, we don't have answers to the Rebel Tutors. The Rebel Tutors are quite good. The best one seems to be the 2/1 white one for 2. It's basically the Blight Speaker without the tap to deal a damage ability, but it's actually like viable in combat. So I think that that's worth the trade-off. Definitely want to play first. Okay, so we've got Dust Wasp, which is one of our best cards against him. If we draw a land, we've got 2 more options. Yeah, I think this is barely keepable. Probably better than our last hand. But being on the play, the suspended creatures get even better because you're getting a really big creature out extra early. It's kind of like Rant gets really good on the play because you have time to do it. Alright, so we drew our land. We've got our Germinator. If we get another, we'll have the Spore Sower and just have a really good curve out. I think I will let the Germinator through, or sorry, the Apocryphite through if it attacks. I can always attack into it if I cared. Our opponent could have the -1/-1 black trick in order to take the Germinator with it, but he would not get to draw a card. So it would only be a fair trade plus, and then we'd have something we could Eternal Witness. Okay, it may actually be worth attacking into the Apocryphite if I draw a land, just because then Spore Sower will get in. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably actually worth it, just because we want to start getting in with Spore Sower, and this is our way to do so. Okay, so our opponent did have the pepper smoke option that I had mentioned. I could Eternal Witness, but I think it's best to just get Spore Sower out. Who knows, maybe he'll kill Spore Sower, in which case we'll want to be able to Eternal Witness that. Spore Sower also puts a spore counter on each fungus, not just itself. I forgot that. That is pretty sweet. Okay, so it will still be able to be a sapling factory and to make our other Thalids better. Moss Dog is good and it can get back. Germinator's better with Spore Sower out. I think for right now I'm just going to use the best use of my mana, get the most aggressive creatures I can on the board. Next turn, if I draw a land, I'll be able to just Eternal Witness Germinator anyway. Okay. Next turn, our opponent will have a 4/4 Apocryphite. Ooh, Cloudgoat Ranger. Cloudgoat Ranger's tough. Tough to deal with. We do have Death Rattle, so if we are willing to exile Germinator, which I, at this point, probably would be, we can kill Ranger. So yeah, I think that's probably the play. Or draw land. That looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and attack and see what happens. Okay, I can play Eternal Witness and be willing to chump block the 4/4. Then the Kith can still get in. Now I'll go ahead and Death Rattle. This way we can use Eternal Witness to get back Death Rattle. That's still good. Doing it when our opponent's tapped out means our opponent can't use Ghostly Journey, I think it is, to flicker it. Basically, our opponent won't be able to save it. Okay, next turn we'll be able to make a Sapperling to block if our opponent gets in with the Apocryphite. If our opponent leaves the Apocryphite back to block, we're perfectly happy to not attack with a Moss Stack, of course. Yeah, I didn't figure that was likely. When you can attack for 7, it's often good. If our opponent had nothing, things would be looking pretty okay in the race. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Oh, that's creatures with power 2 or less. Okay, there are none of them in the graveyard right now. That's a darn good thing, but Revelark is still terrifying. Okay, I guess we leave Dust Wasp back to block Revelark. And attack with a Moss Dog. Moss Dog Millionaire. Automatically picks the card because there's only one, and we'll get our Thallid out. Okay, that's rough. So our opponent will be able to get in for at least 4 damage a turn. And we will have one less, we lose our best creature. Thus far, we're able to kill Revelark. But with our opponent still having stuff in hand, it's not as good as we'd like it. One nice thing is Spore Sower will make Thallid create blockers fairly quickly. Four, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oof. We may not be fast enough, blocker-wise. Okay, so I'm gonna wait until my opponent's turn to Death Rattle, just because if he does have Ghostly Flicker, it would save him right now. But if that is the case, next turn we would be able to prevent Revelark from being able to attack at least, because it would be flickered instead of attacking. So I think we need to save our mana to Death Rattle. I should have left the card in the graveyard just to make future Death Rattles better. Okay, so there was the Otherworldly Journey, like we figured. Gonna have to get an answer to that real quick. Our opponent's deck is sweet. Revelark is definitely a combo with Flicker. Okay, if I chump here, we cannot survive one hit of Revelark. So I think I'm gonna just keep my creature alive, keep as many options open as I can, and we'll see if we can draw something awesome. That's pretty good. Don't want our opponent to draw an extra card to be able to maybe get an answer to this, so we'll go ahead and do it now. Thankfully, our opponent still doesn't have any creatures that fit that description. Okay. What do we need to do? So we'll have one chump blocker here. We'll have the Moss Dog. I think we want to attack with both just because we really need to get aggressive to survive. Like, if our opponent does much, we'll go from 2 to 0, and it takes a lot to get our opponent from 10, so we need to be able to start that process as soon as we can. That does open us up to, if our opponent has enough removal, he can just kill a creature and be able to get in with one. But we will have 2 blockers, so I think we are better there than our opponent. Our opponent's probably going to stay back with Apocryphite. Not actually sure. I'm waiting on attacker phase to play my Saproling just because my opponent would be able to use sorcery speed removal for it. So let's see what attackers are committed before we use our Saproling. Okay. I could double block the Apocryphite. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to block Moth Dog on the Soldier and Saproling on the Apocryphite. That way I've got lethal for crackbacks if nothing weird happens. Our opponent has 1 card in hand, so obviously something weird could happen. But we have 2 Saprolings ready, so we'll have sufficient blockers. And Death Rattle. Okay. This was awfully close. I could have sworn we were dead when our opponent played Revelark. Do we attack with this one? I think we may as well. I don't see a downside to it. Okay, so we ended up winning out of nowhere. That was lucky. Alright, be back in round 3.